Hello, everybody, and welcome to a fresh edition of the Musings and Music Show. My name is Egbe Mbiwan Mujimbo. I have to say that even though I know you already know it, and I'm coming to you on VUSA World Radio. And as you know, the routine, this will eventually be on YouTube, so you can go back and watch it and learn even more. I have a guest with me today, and I want to welcome her to the show and have her just tell us who she is in a nutshell. Go ahead, ma'am. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Antoinette Okala Enowmbi, and I am a certified trained life coach and a certified trained spiritual director and companion.
All right, that is the professional side of you. Anything you want to share about the social side of you?
Well, the social side of me is, first of all, I'm a human being. I know there's a lot of AIs going around. I'm a human being. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm a friend.
There you go. I think you've covered all the bases there. And anybody listening can find their fit in there. So she talked about the professional person. So yes, that's a professional side. And then she talked about the social side, who she is. Now let's go back to the professional side, because that is why she's here. What's your professional, or let me see your academic background, if you mind sharing.
Yeah, so I studied psychology in college. I remember when the first time I went to meet my advisor, I was going in as undecided. That was going to be my major because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to study. And when I sat with my advisor and she was going through all these other majors and everything that the school was offering, and she got to psychology. And after the description of this major, I said, wait a minute here. I've always been intrigued about human behavior. And this was it just fit that puzzle. This major fitted that puzzle. And I said, that's what I want to study. And she looked at me, her eyes blew up. I said, that's what I want to study. I want to major in psychology. So she was like, okay, let's do it. And to say I had a blast doing that is an understatement. So I've always been curious about human behavior, far back as I can remember, and majoring in psychology and studying psychology was a plus for me. So after college, I work as a counselor. I work as a special ed teacher in New York. And then I took a break I got married, took a break from my career because someone needed to take care of the kids. Mom wasn't here all the time to help me take care of the kids. So I had to take a break from my career to help raise the kids. And I did that for quite a bit. And then during that time, I just felt like I needed more. As the kids were getting older and becoming more independent and doing their stuff, I thought I needed more. And I adventure into spirituality. I met someone who was a spiritual companion. And in that process, I felt like there was so much in there. Again, remember, part of me is about human behavior. So that got me into inquiring more. And I remember one day, she's a mentor of mine. She said, Antoinette, you know what? I think you'll be a good spiritual companion. You'll be a good spiritual director. Have you ever thought about it? And I said, well, I haven't ever thought about it. And we kept talking about it. And long story short, it led me into a 4-year program, University of with Fairfield University in Connecticut, where I got my training, my certified training as a spiritual director and spiritual companion. And I started practicing as a spiritual companion and director for quite a bit. And then another door opened for me that took me into life coaching. And That's what we
yeah,
say.
probably
So
good.
I'm both the, life coach and a spiritual companion.
Wow. The people who are listening to this, my kind of audience that listening to this and going, coach, the word coach for them is just tied to sports. If you're going to coach, then you're coaching volleyball, soccer, football, that's it. They don't understand the concept to us about life coach. So what exactly is that? And you mentioned spirituality. There too, they would go to pastor, priest.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's where did you go to divinity school? Did you go to so now just explain to us a little bit more about what those things entail.
Yes, I used to think that way too. That a coach is only someone who is involved in sports, coaching athletes and all that stuff. But life coaching pretty much is someone who strive to help other people balance both their personal life and their professional life. So that's what I do. I help those who struggle with finding balance in both professional and personal. We get overwhelmed in the society we live in. We have kids, we juggle work, we juggle, personal life, we juggle family life, extended family life. And we find ourselves just in a whirlwind, spinning around and not knowing what to do. We really want to be part of all these little segments of our lives, but we don't have the time, we don't have the energy, and we get overwhelmed. That's where a life coach comes in. A life coach comes in, sit with you, see where the areas that you need help, and they draft a goal with you in order for you to achieve those goals and accomplish those things that you so much desire. I tell people sometimes when they say, what does a life coach do? I said, well, a life coach helps you remember who you are when you forget.
Wow.
We help remind you of who you are when you forget. Those desires that you wanted, those goals that you wanted, the person that you have, the person that is inside within you that has been suppressed for so many years because of the busyness, because of all the other distractions around you. We come in, or I come in, to help you revisit that person that you really are, to unravel everything else and bring out that person.
Wow. That is really deep, because you see, we work around and do all of those things. They become part of what we do, and we don't realize that we have lost ourselves in the whole thing. Because finding yourself like, am I not here? Is this not me? How can I be lost? But we don't realize that we can actually lose ourselves in all of those things, in trying to fulfill all of those things that we do as human beings. All of the, like you named that you are a mother, you're a wife, you're a daughter. Doing each of those, fulfilling each of those parts of our lives is a complicated thing, and sometimes we don't quite have that balance. So what are the services? Because now you're structured. It's not as if you're just talking. You have an actual structure. So can you explain to us how I'll call it a business, is structured, and what services you offer? Who goes to see you?
Anyone comes to see me in both services that I offer. For example, the life coaching aspect or part of it, I can work with anyone who feels like they are losing balance in any area of their lives. For example, someone who feels like they make promises and they cannot keep it all the time, and their friends or their family members feel like they're not serious. They want to be able to build that goal-setting mindset. I work with someone like that to give them that strength and that courage and believe in themselves that they can do it. I work with those who are suffering from confidence and self-esteem. I help them build that confidence, improve their self-esteem, and know that they have the strength to achieve whatever they set their minds to. I work with anyone who is suffering from stress. So we work in managing their stress. I work with relationship building, right? Some of us come from huge families, and we have siblings, cousins, uncles, colleagues at work, friends, and we struggle sometimes in those relationships and how to go about them, because we all have different personalities.
Correct.
We have different personalities. And sometimes the key is to understand someone, the other person, and know how to approach them. So we work in situations like that in building relationships, health and wellness. That's an also important area where, you know, I've met people who say, you know what, I really want to be healthy. I want to eat healthy. I want to do healthy things. They cannot find the time to accomplish that. They cannot find someone to encourage them to do that. My job as a health coach is to hold your hand as you journey in accomplishing those goals. I work with people who are desiring personal growth and development for themselves, for their loved ones, or at work. I do that. I work live with those who are seeking life balance. I want to go on vacation, but I cannot go on vacation because I don't have the time. Okay, let's sit and talk about it. What is your work schedule? What are your off days? Where do you want to go? So we work on that and help you come to that place where you can actually understand that you can make it if you put everything together and look at it from a different perspective. Kind of like a mind shift kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah, decision making. You know, some of us suffer from indecisions where we say, okay, I'll do this today. And then tomorrow we'll say, no, I'm not doing it. And then the day after that, they go back to it. So they go back and forth, bouncing back and forth, and not really knowing exactly what they want and how they want to go about it. So someone who is struggling in that area of decision making, I work with them. Transition and change. That way, you probably know what this is all about. Change and transition. A lot of us go through that when our kids are leaving the house, going, you know, college, when our kids are leaving the house, getting married, when our kids are leaving the house, or when we get retired, we go towards retire, we're heading towards retirement. All those changes affect us in adverse way, in different ways, and we are all different in the way we approach them. And there are some people who struggles with those changes, with those challenges. My job is to help them ease through those challenges and those changes and come out on the other side feeling good about themselves and looking at what they've accomplished. Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is another aspect where the emotional awareness is a key. Understanding oneself, understanding our strengths, our weaknesses, and accepting them for what they are, and seeing how we can get better in the areas that we need to get better. Motivation is another area too. So it's a broader, that's just a little, you know, snippet of some of the areas that I work with people.
That cannot be a snippet or a little, because everybody falls into one of those. I'm sitting here trying to raise my hand. Each time you mentioned what I'm like, I identify you. I can relate. I'm sitting here looking like all of those things, all of the above. Like we are on the dawn of a new year. Resolutions are made. I will work on the treadmill at least once every day, blah, blah, blah. By day one, you're on fire. Day two, you're on fire. Day three, you're like, let me just keep today. Before you know it, you've fallen off the wagon again. And so these things which we're listening to and people are taking for granted, if we're honest to ourselves, we know that those things, we fail at them. And what I like is you mentioned relationships and then went on to give a whole set of relationships, none of which was romantic. Because you see, I don't hear relationship. It's like, hey, I'm dating this person, my spouse, my husband, my boyfriend, my significant other. That's what it is. And then you went on to say brother, sister, in-laws, and things like that. And we don't realize, because we think relationships, if you're going to see any expert on about relationship, is because you're trying to avoid a divorce. It's a romantic thing. And we forget that our daily, look, you enter an Uber, you have to deal with the Uber driver. You go to the post office to mail a thing, you deal with the person at the counter. Then your siblings, then your children, and all of those things. Each thing like that is a relationship. Your boss, your colleagues, all of that. And if those don't go well, they affect everything else. So, yep, that's a whole lot. Because the people who are listening to this and we're thinking, really, what do I need that for? Now, I know where I'm going with this, but let me just go ahead and ask you all the same. What the demographics are for your clientele. Because you're here, you're practicing out of Charlotte, right? Charlotte,
I am based in Charlotte. However, post-COVID, everyone is on Zoom these days.
Yes.
So I have clients all over the world. To be honest, I have clients all over the world. We meet via Zoom or Skype. My demographic is anyone and everyone.
Right.
Because the truth of the matter is, all those things that are listed, those areas of conversation that I listed, they affect us all.
All human beings.
As human beings, they affect us all. We are wired to think in ways that affect each one of us differently.
Right.
But those challenges are the same. Those challenges don't know skin color. Those challenges don't know which part of the world you come from. Those challenges don't know your culture. Those challenges are human challenges that we all experience. So there's no limit to my demographic. I see everyone because those are universal challenges.
Correct. I was asking though, here's where I was going with that. Who tends to come? Because I'm thinking about my society, my community, let me say immediate community, or let me say community of origin, because I'm here. Yes, and I am an American citizen, but I'm originally from Cameroon, from West Africa, where these kinds of services we tend not to utilize. We tend to think that we can pray everything away, or we can just be strong. They say be strong and just manage your way through things. We tend not to see the use, the benefits of going to see anybody to talk about anything. We tend not to do that. So I was going to ask you, that's where I was going to with the demographics, not who should come, but who does come? Who does show up? Do we see the average, let's say, Cameroonian African? What has their experience been, or the experience of even others who are in the same business as you? What has the experience been vis-a-vis people of color in general, and then Africans in general, and then let's say Cameroonians? Do you see many of that kind of person come to you?
That's a good question. And I thank you for asking that question, because one of the reasons I really appreciate this conversation that you and I are having is because I feel that my community, which is the same as yours, the Cameroonian community and the African community as a whole, I don't see that many of my people, let me put it that way, in these services. Most of my clients are non-Cameroonians. As a matter of fact, all my clients are non-Cameroonians. And that's what got me thinking that where am I? Like I said earlier, these are universal challenges. These are human challenges. We all experience these challenges in different ways, and they affect us in different ways. And I feel as though, like you said earlier, we don't think it's for us. Or we can deal with it. We can handle those challenges. But those challenges are sucking the blood out of us. When they are left unsolved or unresolved. They're sucking the blood out of us. And what I've observed is that they trickle down. They trickle down and they affect the people around us without even us being aware. Without us being aware of what is happening, without us being aware of our reactions, the words that we're saying, where are they coming from, how we are reacting, or how they are affecting the people around us, our children, our siblings, our spouses, our colleagues at work, the people around us, the reaction that comes out of us in situations affect them. And I keep saying, I need to serve my people. Where are my people? Because the challenges that I'm hearing from my clients are similar challenges that I hear from my friends in the community. You see, similar challenges that I hear from my friends in the community. So why are we not taking advantage of some of the resources and tools and see how we can manage some of those challenges and get better at those things that are causing us just going
around in circles? Going around in circles is even better than what I see sometimes, which is spiraling down. Because if you're even going around in a circle, that is still pointless. But then spiraling down, because what you're saying there That's what causes the divorces we see.
Mm-hmm.
That's what causes the fights that we see. Because even when they don't get divorced and they stay there, it's still toxic.
Yeah.
That's what causes the children that we see that are acting. I am a teacher. I've been in the profession for I don't know how, decades.
Yeah.
And before, when I started teaching here in the United States, the kinds of issues that we saw when they call a kid to the office, it wasn't our kids. It was either Caucasian kids, African American kids, more and more. It's the kid with the Congolese name, it's the kid with the Nigerian name, it's the kid with the Cameroonian name, Liberian, Sierra Leonean, right there that you hear on the announcements they're calling, and they're suspending. So one thing that we need to also do, we're talking about the mind shift. I don't believe that the way we coped in our Cameroon is the same as coping out here. First of all, you clearly said it's a universal thing. But I would say, I don't know if I'm mistaken, you are the professional, you tell me, are the challenges, okay, the challenges are there generally, but I believe that there is so much more stress out here in this country than there is, whereas we keep telling ourselves we can cope. Our mothers coped, our uncles and our grandparents coped. Who did they go to see?
Right.
So we too can come here, why can't we cope? I don't address that and say, everybody needs this, number one, but then can you impress upon us why we who live out here doing the 9 to 5 and the 8 shifts need it even more? Please speak to that.
So, Sister Egbe, going to that point that you just raised, we were brought up, we grew up, we were raised in a very conservative culture. Most Africans grew up in a conservative culture where a lot of things are just being embraced and emotions are not expressed. People don't get vulnerable. Vulnerability is like being vulnerable. Are you kidding me? Especially with the men.
You're weak.
You're weak. So the culture, as beautiful as it is, has that impact on some of us when it comes to expressing ourselves in certain areas. Some of us experience trauma growing up. And that trauma we don't talk about. Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'll give you an example. I went to a boarding school. I know you went to a boarding school.
Did I? Yes.
The discipline that's there, that takes place there, especially during what we call handover time, right? Where the senior students turn around and they revenge on the younger ones. And some of those revenge or some of those discipline or punishment or whatever they call it has an impact. It impacted some of those students.
Yes.
Others who were strong enough were able to shake it off, but not everyone had that strength to shake it off. I know someone who is in my age group. She went to a boarding school and she still tells the story. She tells the story today.
Right.
The trauma that she got during that
handover
period still affects her in adverse ways.
Yep.
She's not able to allow herself to shake it off or to talk about it because she's still bitter of what happened to her.
I know quite a few myself who, you know, we have these associations that we form after we graduated from the college. So we have EXA, you have OPSA, you have all of these things. There's some people who would never, you talk to them about it, they say, please don't even go there. I don't want to think about what I went through there.
Exactly. But that's an area where we need to talk about. They need to express the emotions, the feelings that's coming out of them and give themselves grace.
Correct.
Because they didn't cost it. They didn't do anything. And in the process of giving themselves grace, give the perpetrator grace as well.
Tough.
Because some of those perpetrators were victims themselves. Some of those perpetrators were victims themselves. They went through the same process when they were in the junior classes.
Correct. And their reaction now is payback, as opposed to saying, what happened to me was wrong. Let me not do it again to somebody else. The reaction.
Because it's a cycle.
Right.
It's a cycle because they came in, they went through the whole discipline thing, handover period. And then when they got to the level where I remember when they said, I can't wait to get to Form 3. I cannot wait to get to. So it's a cycle. So almost everyone who was a perpetrator was a victim.
To start with. And you're using it about boarding schools, but I know it filters right across everything.
It filters right across.
Take
a look at some of the homes that we grew up in, where we saw physical, emotional, all those kind of abuses. We still harbor some of those feelings with us.
Correct.
And that's why I'm coming at the question that you posed to me. Our society, the culture that we grew up in, was very conservative. Vulnerability wasn't welcome. Being vulnerable wasn't welcome. And that has affected some of us all the way to how old we are today. And it's affecting everything else that we do without the awareness.
And that is where it comes from.
That's where it comes from.
Yep. You're not going to sit down there and talk it out. You don't even realize that you're this angry person based on something in your past that was there. We tend not to reflect like that.
We tend not to reflect like that. And we just bury it down. And we execute those behaviors to our children. We scream, we yell to people around us, to our colleagues. Our reaction, it just goes, if you put everything together, it intertwines.
Right.
It intertwines. And the conservatism in that keeps us away from receiving resources like this, or for asking for help, or for asking for, guidance.
Right.
So I think,
my thoughts have just gone everywhere. The kind of things that are specific to us, and that's why I'm just go ahead to throw the appeal on your behalf. We need these services. We need to go. But I'm thinking about people who are today bitter. They grew up in a polygamous situation. You see, the reason why you would be different as a person to go to as a life coach is because you are relatable and know those backgrounds. I cannot imagine which Caucasian coach I'm going to go and start explaining polygamy to when he has not lived it. He does
exactly
not exactly what it means. They're like, your dad had more than one wife, really? I mean, I guess he had 3 wives. Really, they'd be shocked and surprised, and I don't know that they would know how to approach this. They may give generics, but it takes somebody like you who knows those kinds of things that how we react. In fact, even the advice you give somebody, I hear the things that I read and see that somebody in a book is giving to handle certain things, and I'm going, ooh, try this in an African home, it will backfire on you.
Yeah.
There are some cultural differences. Much as we are saying, generally, the challenges are the same. If you're grieving, you're grieving. If you're depressed, you're depressed. But certain things that I'm thinking, you being from that culture, but understand better. Because I've seen people who are going through things and they haven't forgotten what happened to them.
Yeah.
Of what my stepmother did to me, what my, as you say, the Form 5 student did to me, and all of those things. So, how can you be reached? You as a structure, you said Zoom and everything, but then I'm sure you have people who also come physically. Do you have this as in a building, for example? What's the name of the service? The name of of what you're doing? How can people find it? How can they get to you?
Right. So before I get to that question, I just want to piggyback on what you said about understanding people from our community. And I think that is very, very important. That I've heard people say, oh, I don't want to go, talk to anybody who is not going to understand where I'm coming from. Or I don't, and I can understand that, right? Because if someone goes and tells, if someone comes to me and we're having a conversation and they say, oh, I just sent $200 to my mother-in-law or to my grandmother, I don't need to ask questions. I don't need to look at them, left eye. I understand that they're sending that money for someone to take care of them. So those are the little intricacies that I can understand coming from that part of the world. And another thing that I want to emphasize, I know that some people are concerned about, oh, you know, I don't want to put my things out there. I don't want to go up. Confidentiality is something that I uphold very, very dear to me in my line of work. Being confidential is something that is very, very important to me, and I respect that, because I wouldn't want to go sit with someone and the next thing I hear, another person is narrating the conversation that I had with that professional. It's so unprofessional, and I take that
unethical,
very
even unethical.
It's very it is it is unethical. So, and I just want my people, or the people in our community, to understand that confidentiality is very, very important. We take that very, very important. It's part of our training. We are trained to respect that. In addition to the life coaching, I'm also a trained certified spiritual companion, which is a spiritual companion is a trained Christian who accompanies another Christian as they explore their life experiences with God. It is part of journeying with someone who is trying to, or who want to have a deeper relationship with God. I come in as a companion, as they explore that area in their lives, seeking deeper relationship and a more personal relationship with God. So I do offer that service as well.
Okay.
And I meet one-on-one. Pre-COVID, my colleagues and I had an office of Providence Road. And then when COVID hit, the world came to a standstill. We closed the office. So I mostly meet my clients virtually, online. And for those who want to meet in person, I am very open and available to meet in person. I usually would recommend, I've had people say, oh, I'm fine with meeting you via Zoom, but I always recommend to meet at least once, the first meeting, just to get to have that in a personal conversation and getting to meet each other face to face. So I usually suggest that, except for those who are out of town or out of state, where we can meet virtually. The name of the practice is Transformative Life Coaching. Transformative Life Coaching LLC. And my social media handles are my social media handle is @T Life Coaching.
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook @T Life Coaching.
All right. So we can actually go and search and find that and figure out how to contact you. I had actually gone ahead. Maybe this is my cue to go pull up the website, because you do have a website.
I do have a website, yes.
Okay, let me see. I had gone.
It took me a while to get around to the website thing, because I use most of the people that I meet, or most of my clients I've been getting, has been based on word of mouth. So I always felt reluctant creating a website, but and then my niece was like, you know what, Auntie, why don't you just go ahead and create a website? We're in the 21st century. And I said, duh. Okay, it's time for me to create a website. So
I'm looking at it right there. There you are, right there. That's you.
That's
and
me.
Then it says the things: lifestyle, growth, help, success, inspiration, motivation, strategy, advice, change, mentoring, goal. The things that you talked about already, there they are in the what it is that you offer. Yeah. Which, as we already have underscored, all of us fall into. Pretty much who doesn't need any of these things. I don't see any that I can say, okay, this one, cross this one out, cross this one out, check here, and leave the rest out. So it says quite there, I can see that we were talking about it, Transformative Life Coaching LLC. If I could sit here and Google the thing and find it, it means you can too. So it's there. This is the Meet Antoinette part of the thing. Let's look at what the services are that are offered. I don't know, did my screen change yet?
Yes.
Okay, so it says individual life coaching right there, group coaching. So, okay, so you can come as a group, meaning
Yes, yes.
Okay, a family.
Yeah, we can also do, we offer group coaching. Sometimes you have groups that are in disorder, right?
Right.
Where everybody wants to do their own thing and everybody thinks that their own idea is the best. And maybe there are other people who are behind on their project or behind on their part of the work that needs to come together as a group. So group coaching, if they need someone to come in there and help them come up with a goal and the steps on achieving those goals, I can come in there and help them achieve whatever their objectives are.
That's awesome. So whoever is being the not wanting to be the right kind of team player can be told to, like, okay,
Right.
you do a little bit more listening than the speaking, or the person who's shy then who hardly says anything may have a lot to contribute. That just figure it out. Because as I said, I teach and I see, we put them in groups, we put them in teams. And sometimes you have somebody come and say, I don't want to be in this group. So and so thing is happening. So I see here it's a spiritual direction. That's what you're talking about. Not spiritual direction. About, so those are the things that you, as you said, that you'd offer. And I'm looking for the way where it says contact us right there. Right here. Let's see what it says. Okay. So there is, and I'm doing this mostly for those who are going to be watching on YouTube, because now the radio, you can't see what it is I'm sharing. But I can read out the phone number. It says the phone number is 301-404-4261. Again, 301-404-4261. And then for anybody who's listening who said that went too fast, just go on your cell phone, on your tablet, on your desktop, enter Transformative Life Coaching, LLC. You'd fall right on this page that I'm looking at right now. There's an email address right there that has her first name, Antoinette, 2 T's, Antoinette, at tlifecoaching.com. And then the work hours are sitting right there for you to see. Close Saturday and Sunday. She told you she was a mother and a wife. I guess those are her priorities. So you have to respect those. Let me stop the sharing for now and come back to you. And curiosity, because I like to see when I get a good guest who knows what they're doing, who's licensed, who's professional, not just some charlatan from somewhere. I like to ask, would they be willing to come back and deal with specifics sometimes? Like, look, we are going through things. There's grief. I mean, now I've lost a really close friend. I get up in the night and cry. I just listen. That's just what it is. When am I going to know if I'm going overboard? And I feel that's natural. I'm missing the person who just passed away. When do I know when it's past being natural and normal to, hey, you're slipping into depression? So there's suicide, which we didn't taboo for us. Nobody ever takes that. But now our kids are here, and we're now having our kids overdosing and dying. And we're having to walk behind little caskets. So would you be willing to, is that something you can do? Come back and talk about specifics and things like that?
Absolutely. Any day. I can't say no to you. I will be glad to come back and talk more and even answer questions. If your listeners have questions for me, I can always answer. You touch the grieving aspect of, I understand, sorry for your loss, your grieving. We need to understand that the average grieving period for anyone is 22 months, almost 2 years.
Wow.
And sometimes we rush through it.
We do. We even have, okay, go back to our tradition, and let's nobody think we're bashing our tradition. There are absolutely beautiful parts of it. But you know this thing for Move Black, the thing happens, you wear black here and crumble your head, meaning you take everything off. Then when it grows and then a year comes by, you don't move black. Everybody expects now that you're happy again, and so
the grieving period, we got to allow ourselves to grieve. And when I say grief, it doesn't just relate to someone passing or dying.
Right.
Going through a divorce, you got to grieve that divorce. Going through a relationship, a breakup relationship, a two people breaking up from a relationship, you got to grieve that relationship.
Right.
So the grief aspect is not only referring, even though what you said about, the black and the hair shaving, but the grief spread across the board. Grieving is something that we experience or we express when we lose someone dear to us. So it can come in any format. It can come in any way. It can come in that person dying. It can come in that person no longer being part of our life, which means breaking up. It can come in that person
moving, even just moving
away from you because you're not seeing them. So grief, the word grieve has a broader umbrella. It's not just about death. And those are the things that we need to talk about for us to have a better understanding. When you see someone sitting by the corner and crying and you say, what's happening? You say, oh, my son just went away to college.
Yes.
They need that time to grieve.
Yes. Especially we say na something that, because you see, that's where we're coming from. Who picking never go college before. So you are even wanting to say what's bothering you because somebody's going to ridicule it and say, is that anything you're grieving about? Look at somebody who has lost 5 children, they're not grieving. Then the things we say and do, even, I tell you.
And when we do that, when we brush that away, when we brush away someone's feelings, what happens? They suppress
them.
And they suppress it. It goes back to that subconscious and just stays there and manifests itself in adverse ways that they don't even know. They're not even aware that those feelings, those emotions that are down there being suppressed are being manifested in adverse way that are affecting not only them, but everyone around them.
Wow.
So we need to be conscious about some of those little things that we just say and walk away, how it might affect someone else. And that person that is being affected needs to be able to share, need to be able to go to someone, a trained person, and say, this is what is happening. And sometimes you go and say, I don't even know why I'm doing this. And by the end of that conversation, that person gets to understand where that feeling is coming from, or what is provoking that reaction that they are having. Because they are forced to go deep
and dig it out
deeper.
Yeah. You'll ask them the right questions, and then get that out of them. Because you see, it's different. We have to really do that mind shift, and especially for those raising children here now, born and raised here, who may be in Cameroon. How many people had a pet dog at home? Even if they had a dog, it was the dog that's supposed to be them, chien méchant, to bark and drive any potential thieves away. The dog was not part of the family. Now you have the child here, who that dog, that pet, look, is a member of the family. Then the dog is sick or passes away. Me as a teacher here, the first time I was told that kid who was absent, then came back and said that they were gone for a couple of days, their dog died. My thing was like, that was like,
the child was grieving.
Correct.
The child was grieving, and rightly so. Rightly so. Right. The child has to grieve.
Yes. And we don't get it. Say, come on, we say, come on, dog.
Yes.
We had this for dog. Bingo, Max. That's the name for dogs. That's it. And then they're like, okay, the dog has died. The first thing was like, so?
Yeah.
You're not validating the person's thing, whereas they've been there with this pet. The pet has been endeared to them and everything. Even and the dog, cat is even better. The child has a hamster, it's a smaller little thing, and you're like, huh? But for the kid, especially for those here where it's not like those of us that had the chance to go out and play with other kids every day are out there. We tend to be more indoors here. So the child has bonded with this pet and has lost the pet. It is separation.
It is separation.
It
is separation. And sister, I just want to add something to what you're saying. It goes back again to giving ourselves grace, because when some of us react that way, the way you just described about a pet, whatever, move on, because we didn't grow up in a culture that saw dogs and cats as pets. Giving ourselves grace to say, oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
Because in order for us to be able to understand or relate to the other person, we got to give ourselves grace, right? We are victims as well. We are victims as well for not knowing that. for not being in an environment where we could understand that
Mhm.
our parents are victims themselves.
It was
Because
just
the parents
reality.
did not grow up in an environment where they could understand that their parents and their grandparents. So it's a cycle.
Mhm.
So for some of us who are privileged to be in this part of the world with the opportunities that we have the choice to make that shift.
Right, right. And for
We
some of
have the
you, you even have
choice.
the choice. Okay, you can, but you just will not be efficient at what you're doing at all, because I have to hug that kid and say you're going to be okay and everything, and stop thinking, is that anything? And so we are all the better for it, utilizing services like such as what you're offering out there. So I would encourage everybody listening, everybody viewing, check her out. Go to that website and look at it. If you're not doing it for yourself, maybe so for somebody in your family, for a colleague, for somebody that you have seen go through trauma, because it may not be you right now, but you know that you have a friend who has really not having a hard time moving on after losing their spouse, moving on after a breakup in a relationship that they had, maybe even at work and that kind of a thing, or just struggling to process things, or one you've always called a type. That's what we used to call them. Each day, some kind, some kind, a type. And they have that awkward behavior, and we have never bothered to wonder why they act that way. Maybe
Yeah. And if that's who they are, accepting themselves for who they are, because we are all different. We all have different personalities, and we are all wired differently. True. So having that self-esteem and confidence of knowing that, you know what, I might be different from this other group of people, and it's okay, because that's who I am.
That too.
So having that confidence and that self-esteem, knowing that the ability to free oneself.
Right.
The ability to free oneself from feeling inferior, from feeling not good enough, from feeling not worthy enough.
Or, you know what's gone off in my head now? Of needing to conform. Needing to conform.
Conformity.
I'm getting my own therapy for free here.
Conformity, yes. Yes.
Everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing this. I am not feeling this thing, but you're going to join this group because that's what the people who, that's what we do. And then you're there uncomfortable.
You're struggling.
The waste of your time. Yeah. Sitting there.
You're struggling.
Everybody's doing it, so let me to do.
You're
Can
struggling.
You sit back and say, it's not for me. I ain't doing it. If the whole world wants to go, God be with you, go over there. But the fact that I don't feel this thing, I'm okay still.
That's a word. I like that word, the word you just used. The fact that I don't belong is okay. If I am fine with not belonging.
Hallelujah.
If I am fine in not belonging, I am okay.
Correct.
It becomes a problem if I'm not okay. I'm not fine in not belonging.
Correct.
If I'm fine in not belonging, that's okay. You're good. If I'm not fine in not belonging, then that's when we need to check in and say, why are you not fine in not belonging? Why are we not fine in not belonging? What is it that is making us feel like we have to belong?
Right.
And what is making us feel like we're not fine in not belonging?
Correct.
And that's when we start peeling the onion.
Correct. The layers.
We start peeling the onion, and before we realize it, it's taking us somewhere where we never envisioned, somewhere where we never thought of, and we start going, holy smokes, what is happening here?
Right.
And that brings us to who we are. That brings us to what I said in the beginning, that part of my job is to remind my clients of who they are when they forget.
And on that note, except you have something else to add, I think that is a beautiful way to have gone full circle and come on right back down to that very, very, very witty and deep quote. We all are somebody that God put on this planet with a purpose, with a mission. And there's nothing as uncomfortable as doing the wrong thing. You are you, and then you're you, but you're not really you, because you haven't ever even found you, or you have lost you in there. So you're walking around being totally ineffective.
And you know it.
Yeah.
Intuitively, you feel it. You hear that voice in here. You know it. But because we are on autopilot all the time, we don't stop to say, let me check in.
Let me reflect. Mm-hmm.
We do that to ourselves all the time. So what I am saying is, let me help you check in.
Sometimes, if you have not been able to do that all this time, in how many years that you've been on this planet, maybe it's time for somebody to help you get there.
And it's not a crime. It doesn't mean you're weak. Asking or soliciting someone to help you work on your schedule, your daily schedule, because you realize that you're always late, or you realize that, you know, your kids are always doing certain things that you don't want them to do, or you are just helping someone say, you know what, I struggle with scheduling, or I struggle with just being focused, or doesn't describe you as a weak person, doesn't mean you're weak. We all need help. We all need help. And the best freedom we can give ourselves is to seek guidance from someone who can help us accomplish those goals that we so much desire to accomplish.
Awesome. I cannot thank you enough for coming to share time with us here. You have made a fantastic case for what many of us think is just don't need to worry about it. It's not necessary. It's just a drain of one's finances, and we don't take it seriously, whereas it can actually make or mar. Or even if you think you have a pretty good life, it can improve that life that we have is better. The stress that is getting us now to go get other diseases that we are now spending much more money to treat. How about you go do this, get to a point where you are comfortable in your own skin and don't now have to deal with the high blood pressure and the other cancers and the other things that come because of the stress we are under. So thank you so much for coming to be with us, and for doing such a, and you'll be back. Like I said, you'll be back. You already know you can't run away, you can't escape.
I can't run away from you. I'll be back. That's for sure.
So the minute I know there's going to be feedback from this, we will get the questions. We will all figure out the topics that are the most salient for our community and bring you on back here to address them. So
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said earlier, I feel our community, or some of us in the community, shy away from embracing some of those mental challenges that we have, and you know, shifting how we look at things, how we perceive things, because our beliefs and our capacity can exert tremendous influence on how we learn.
Exactly.
And the decisions we make in our lives.
Exactly.
So if we all can just look at the way we look at things, we come from a culture that's very conservative. And some of the things that we learn are still ingrained in our brains, and it's hard for us to shake it off.
Right.
And we forget that we're in a different culture. So in order for us to be able to embrace or leave some of the things that we grew up doing and embrace what is suitable for us at this time.
Exactly. I'm smiling because this conversation may never end. I'm smiling about certain things which you see how here, our kids that we have raised and everything, how we say, I love you. Just that, I love you. I can count the number of people my age who grew up in Cameroon whose parents ever opened their mouth and said to them, I love you. No, they just showed it.
Right. Those are some of the things that I'm saying, that we need to be able to shake some of those things off And they say, there's this, they say when you go to Rome, do what the Romans do. You don't necessarily have to do all what the Romans do, but those that you feel can play a positive impact in your life.
Correct. That is what you said. As it's not picking everything that is there, but you see, our parents, they showed I love you by giving you the extra Accra beans that was in the thing.
In their own way.
Then they had their own ways of doing things. And you think that if you give this kid here that was born and raised here, whose environment is different, and you're trying to give out Accra beans and not wanting to say I love you, here they're dealing with teddy bears, candy, so thing, and you are there just cooking okolobong for your child and say, here you go. And expecting them and expecting them to react the same way. It really might not be it. It really might not be it. We're not saying don't cook the okolobong as that what you're. It's not a right or wrong thing, and blaming one culture and against the other. But you really have to wake up. That mind shifting thing is a big deal.
It's a key. It's a key, Sister Egbe. Even apart from the kids, how about us?
Right.
We are in a relationship, right? I had someone that is in a relationship. She want the partner to tell them, I love you. But she hasn't been able to let the partner know that she desires those words.
So yeah, there.
She hasn't been able to let the partner know that she desires those words. Right. How would the partner know if we don't tell them?
Correct. And we are out here raising kids who are going to marry kids that were born in this culture and everything. And that girl is expecting it. And you are saying, my father never ever said that to my mother, to my hearing that I heard. They didn't holding hands as we walk with the person. You're like, hey, that Oyibo thing, where do you live? You live in Oyibo land right now. You sit down there and say, hey, Valentine's Day comes and you just sit there and look at the person. Then, well, everybody else in her is hugging the teddy bears and the little roses and things. And you're saying it doesn't matter. Maybe
if it doesn't, for some people, it might not matter.
True.
I think that's something that we want to be clear about. Right. For some people, it might not really matter whether they get the I love you or they get the teddy bear or they get the chocolate for Valentine's. For some people, it doesn't matter.
The day will not even matter at all. The day itself will not even matter at all.
It don't even matter. What I'm saying is, if you feel it matters for you,
correct,
let the person know that you desire those words or those feelings or the gifts and all whatnot. Right. Because if we don't share that with the person, they're going about doing their business and they might say, well, my husband or my wife doesn't really care about this thing, without knowing that
they do care.
Their partner is dying inside, yearning for that. So that's where the self-confidence comes in. That I say, that's when the self-confidence comes in, when I say, okay, how do you want to do this? Let's set some steps, some goals. How do we want to get to that place where we can be able to tell them that this is what we desire, this is how we want to be talked to, or this is what we need.
Correct. That is so funny, because I was thinking about the things about people, how you can be there. And this person too is now about to be shocked because they thought they were doing well. They thought they were doing great because you didn't say anything. And so they've been doing this thing all these 20 years and had no clue that you really want a rose too for Valentine's or for your birthday.
Because we going back to our conservatism, we just suck it in. Right? Suck it in and say, well, I'm just going to suck it in. And then when you see someone else, your friend getting a rose or getting flowers,
and you're like,
you're dying inside.
Yeah.
Because you also cherish those feelings. You also cherish that attention.
Right.
But how to approach it or how to let the other person know.
And you know what? I just keep having light bulb moments as you speak. Because they're saying, you say you don't let the person know. They don't know. And then guess what now? But the danger that's in that. When the colleague at work, this other person at work gives you those roses, says the things that you want to hear, there are the affairs beginning to start happening. You didn't tell your own person who was there that was the issue, that you'd like some roses, so they didn't give them to you. They didn't say the things you want to hear. Now here is Samson or Benson or any other son that's in your office that is doing precisely that, giving the chocolates and the blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, off you go.
Yeah.
And that is opening another kind of worms that we need the help.
Yeah, so that falls under the communication aspect that I talked about. Because a lot of us have things that are they're brewing inside of us and churning in our stomachs, and we don't just know how to present them to the other person. We even in friendship, you know, the people who have friends, they will say, "Oh, this person is my best friend," but there are things that that best friend has done to you that is hurting you.
Correct.
And you don't know, you're struggling. You don't know how to tell that best friend that what they did to you. It happens in every relationship.
It does.
That communication aspect, how to express ourselves and let the other person know what we need.
All right. I'm not going to ask, I'm not going to ask one more question because it's going to go.
It's going to take us to another direction.
Yes, I'm going to have to just really shut up now and really just stop and end this, but it's very clear you need to be back for us to actually just talk about some of these things, maybe with a panel of people with questions, or we field the questions to you and then get the help that we need to have a healthier society. So thanks.
I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love to. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to chat with you about something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I'm glad that you have this platform to talk about things that can be helpful to each one of us in various ways.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to have you. All right. Take care and goodbye for now.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Same to you.